realizing I wasn't alone was something really important for me. That this wasn't a weakness, that I wasn't the only person. For me, about 25% of all people with mental health will have it onset between the ages of 18 and 24. And especially beginning at college. I went away to college for the first time. I was a mess. And I remember my first week being on the phone with my parents, just crying hysterically. I was so depressed. I was so scared. And saying to my dad, I'm the only one like this, that I don't see anybody else, who's in their rooms crying. He's like, of course you don't. They're all in their room crying. And I remember, and it was a very poignant memory. And 3 years later, my sister went to my school, and I grabbed her and I started walking her around. It was before anybody had had a chance to retreat to their room during freshman orientation. I said, I want you to look at something because I know this can be you later. See that kid crying, you see that kid crying, you see that kid being led away. It's not just you. And realizing that it's not just you and that prominent voices also suffer, I think is something that can be important. But people also have to know when it comes to mental health that it's average people just like them. 1 in 5 Americans, and I imagine it's a pretty similar number across the world, suffer from mental illness. 1 in 2 will over the course of their life at some point. People have to realize that it's so much more than just them, that they aren't alone, and that they can and probably will overcome whatever they're going through.
Stay connected to gratitude. Hit the follow button right now and join thousands of listeners tuning in each week. We're the Gratitude Seekers. Come join us. Hi, Gratitude Seeker. Welcome to this interesting and different episode of the Gratitude Podcast, because today we have a politician here, a state representative in Pennsylvania, an author, and depression, anxiety sufferer going on 16 years strong. He has dedicated his career both in and outside politics towards shattering the stigma that surrounds mental illness. His name is Mike Schlossberg. I might have pronounced it in the German way.
You got it. And that's a kick too, to actually get it right.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So, Mike, welcome to the Gratitude Podcast. We had the really cool pre-chat, and I'm really happy that we got together to talk, because I think you're doing some amazing things, and the way you do things is quite refreshing for me. Like the perspective that you gave me is really beautiful, and
thank you.
I'm really happy to have you here. So let our audience know a little bit about you and what you're doing, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. And first of all, thank you very much for having me. This is an interesting one. I've never quite been on a podcast or done an interview that focuses very specifically on gratitude. And I think that's something that can be a struggle if you suffer from some sort of mental illness, but that makes it all the more important to try to find and hold on to. So again, thanks for having me. My name is Mike Schlossberg. The brief background is I am a Pennsylvania state representative for the non-American listeners who are listening. I basically represent about 65,000 people in the eastern part of Pennsylvania, which is located in the eastern United States. I represent the city of Allentown, one of the largest cities in the state, on a little bit of a township next door. So that's my full-time job. What I do on the side when I have time, and I haven't slept since like mid to late 90s or so, is write. A little background on that, as you said, I've had anxiety, clinical depression, anxiety-related issues for 16, 17 years now, probably longer. That's just how long I've been diagnosed, about half my life at this point. I see a therapist as needed. I take medication. And starting about 3 years ago, I started really talking about it on a regular basis as part of this desire to try to get more people into therapy and have them better recognize their own illness and try to break some of the stigma that surrounds mental health. As part of that, in about 2015 or so, I was having a low point at work. My wife was struggling at work. And I realized I needed more than just therapy or medication. I started thinking about writing again. And I've written before. I published a book a few years ago called Tweets and Consequences. It was a nonfiction book about politicians who ruin their careers on social media. Everything I said is now wrong because everything I said not to do, the president of the United States does on a daily basis. Totally different. But so and writing, even though though it was nonfiction, it was something that I really enjoyed. And I started thinking to myself, maybe I should write again. Maybe that'll be a good outlet for me, a good therapy. And I remembered this goofy idea I had when I first started writing when I was about 20 years ago, doing something along the lines of, kids wind up in a spaceship for no reason and they're not sure why. And it was just like the very breadcrumb of an idea. But I started thinking about that and thought, there's a real opportunity there to make an interesting plot if you add a few other elements, fold in some mental health challenges, because it's what I was become very loud about. It's arguably the calling card of my political career. And maybe I've got something interesting. So I wound up writing, the book is called Redemption. It comes out on June the 5th, and it's specifically about the one sentence summary is depression, anxiety, and the end of the world. And it features 20 young adults, aged 16 to 20, who wind up on a spaceship with no idea why. And as the book unfolds, they realize they have to save the world from a plague that's currently ravaging its way through Earth. And that's the overall plot. But I think the core of the book is about overcoming mental illness, depression, overcoming anxiety, and overcoming the struggles that every one of the characters face, with a particular emphasis. And the book follows around a character named Ash. He's the main character who has clinical depression, anxiety that's kind of destroyed his life. And it's about his journey, not over and not to defeat mental illness, because I don't think that's a thing, but through it, and how he tries to learn how to live with it and how to accept who he is and the struggles he's always going to face.
Wow. I love the idea of getting ideas through to people in an artistic way, like in a way that captures you, like in a story like this one, something that it's interesting. And from the other side, having to read something that's entertaining, but it's both like really helpful. It's not just entertaining. For instance, in Romanian, we have this word for entertainment. The word for entertainment is distracție. It's distraction. To distract yourself from other things.
Right, in circuses.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is a beautiful way of being distracted, entertained, but also learning and developing yourself. And I think it's a really good idea.
Well, thank you. That was the attempt. It's, I think anybody can read it, but I think anybody who's had any sort of experience, either personal or family, with mental health will understand it on a different level. So that's kind of what I was going for there.
Yeah. So I have a curiosity, and I'm sure that our listeners might have this curiosity as well. So you seem like a pretty happy guy. Like,
I know.
Really
it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. So how does this work together? Like, how can you be like this, like really happy, and also suffer from anxiety and depression? And I think this can be very useful for other people that might be in a similar situation.
That is a great question, and it's one that I've definitely gotten before. I think every sufferer has a different answer. I always get a kick. I've certainly met other politicians now who also, are kind of happy and gregarious, but also have suffered some sort of mental illness. I think the answer is it sort of exists on dual tracks. It's the human mind doesn't work in a simple, ordered, and logical way. It sort of runs, you can experience multiple feelings at the same time: love and hate, fear and joy. And I think you can experience happiness and sadness at the same time. I also think how you express yourself outwardly isn't necessarily reflective of who you are inside. Now, I'm really lucky. My depression and anxiety are both by and large under control. They certainly spike at moments. By and large, I'm in a pretty good place right now. But it also bounces up and down in certain situations. Like, as a politician, I've been in elected office in some form for like 8 or 9 years now. And I've done book interviews before. We're talking about a subject that I've done before, that I'm used to, I'm comfortable, this is easy for me. This isn't a thing. This is fun. But that's not to say that if you put me in a situation that's brand new, that I'm not automatically going to feel like the walls are completely closing in, either in terms of anxiety or depression. And it's very situational in that regard as well. This is nothing for me. And again, this is something I really enjoy and I appreciate the opportunity. But in a different situation, I know I feel differently. And I suspect that other listeners know exactly what I'm talking about.
If you have a headache or feel tired constantly, clean air can be the solution. And in theory, if you want more clean air, you just open the windows, right? Well, not quite. Pollution in general and noise pollution in particular make it a much less desirable option for most of us. But here comes Air Doctor. Air Doctor helps us and our family enjoy cleaner air with fewer odors and better sleep. It uses a 3-stage filtration system that captures particles about 100 times smaller than what most air purifiers can handle. Stuff you definitely don't want floating around your home. We're talking dust, pollen, mold spores, pet dander, wildfire smoke, even bacteria, viruses, odors, ozone, and VOCs, all the invisible things you'd rather not be breathing in every day. And here's the best part. It's whisper quiet. You don't get that constant loud fan noise that so many air purifiers have, so you can sleep or work peacefully. Air Doctor also has an auto mode, which means it's constantly adjusting to keep air clean 24/7. You don't have to think about it. And when it's time to change the filter, it reminds you, so there's no guesswork. 98% of Air Doctor customers say their home's air feels cleaner, safer, and healthier. It's no surprise Air Doctor won Newsweek's Reader's Choice Award for Best Air Purifier. Head to airdoctor.com and use promo code GRATITUDE to get up to $300 off today. Air Doctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, plus a 3-year warranty. An $84 value free. Get this exclusive podcast-only offer now at airdoctor.com. That's airdoctorpro.com using promo code GRATITUDE. I do too. But how can we tell, for instance, like, I think that everyone has some kinds of anxious feelings, or they can get depressed at times. How can we tell if it's actually a problem that we should look into or we should find solutions to?
And there are official diagnostic criteria. The best way that you're right, of course, everybody gets scared. Everybody gets scared. Everybody gets sad. But it comes down to, I think, when somebody gets so sad for an extended period of time that they have difficulty functioning, that they can't get through their day, that they need to go home repeatedly. And again, that's not to say that somebody isn't going to have that challenge at some point in their lives. But if it happens to you over an extended period of time, if it interferes with your functioning, if you can't get through your day, then it's time to seek professional help. I think that's where the line is, where it interferes with your functioning.
Yeah, I agree. Like when you can do the things that you need to do or you want to do, that is indeed a problem. But I think, in my opinion, we get to that point, or we might have this kind of situation since we were a child. That's another possibility indeed. But I think that we can do things to make sure that we don't get to that point, or if we are in that point, we can get better and we can find more happiness. And this, of course, I believe that we can do with and through gratitude. So what has been your experience with gratitude?
It keeps you grounded. And like I said when we were talking before this is appropriate because that's something I force myself to try to look at in some of my more down moments. Because the truth is that depression is such a funny thing. I mean, when I compare myself to others and think of all that I should be grateful for, you really get hard on yourself and you wonder, how on earth can I feel this way given everything that I have? I am so lucky. I have I have a wonderful full-time job. I can write on the side. I'm lucky enough that some people want to read and hear what I have to say. I'm married. I have 2 wonderful kids. I'm in good physical health. And I try to make myself be grateful for all that I have. But that's where it can also be a problem. Because when you say to yourself, how on earth can I feel depressed and struggle to get through the day sometimes when there are so many people that have it so much worse? Gratitude sort of turns into a double-edged sword. And that's a real challenge, I think, for anybody who tries to use gratitude, as I do, as a coping mechanism for depression.
Yeah, I totally agree, because when we try to enforce it like this, like the idea of you should be grateful because all of those amazing things are happening in your life, I don't think it works that way. Like, you can't force it. You can try to use different techniques that work, but to force it like this, it might go to the other edge of the sword, as you were saying, to feel guilty that you're blessed and others aren't, or that even though you're blessed, you're not appreciating what you have as much as you should do. And I think this is a problem that has to do with education, like with how parents educate us, or us as parents might educate our kids. Because if we want to force it upon children, I don't really think it works. Like, it's best to have an example, a positive example of someone that is grateful, and of us being grateful. I think this is the best way to learn, to see other people that are living with gratitude. And also there are, of course, all kinds of techniques. And I think, like, one of those is actually it's counterintuitive, but it's looking at things that are worse and getting perspective. Like I don't know if you've read Man's Search for Meaning from Viktor Frankl. Yeah, it's a great book, and I definitely recommend it. It's about an Austrian psychiatrist, I think, that has been in the concentration camps in the World War. And he talks a lot about what was going on the inside when he was in those situations. And just reading that and understanding the situation in which we are and getting that perspective, that is a very powerful way of getting gratitude and seeing our life in a different way. But I totally agree that forcing it like this can really have a negative impact rather than a positive one.
Sounds like an interesting book, especially Gratitude, talking about somebody who was a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah, he wasn't actually talking about gratitude, but the fact that we can see when we read the book, we can see the perspective of what life was for him, for another person, and how life is for us. It's really that perspective that makes us feel grateful really easily, and see that we are in a much better situation. And it is thanks to people like him that made some sacrifices during that period in time. But so let's get a little bit back to gratitude and your own experience with gratitude. Like, if you could go back in time, let's say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, what would you tell your younger self about gratitude?
Part of depression, especially when either untreated or before you get treatment, is your ways of thinking get completely broken. You drive yourself into these spirals of terrible negative thoughts about how worthless you are and how everything is terrible and nobody really loves you and all of that. So you just sort of spiral down and down and down. If I could have, I would have gone back and said to myself, there is so much in your life to be genuinely grateful for, and to also try to gain some comparative perspective. as a kid, and I've said this repeatedly, I represent a good chunk of my constituents are impoverished, or they don't have access to health care that they need, that they deserve, that I do, that my wife and my family does. I would have said to myself, what you're going through is okay. You don't have to feel guilty about it. But compared to the situation that so many others find themselves in, be grateful for all that you have and for the opportunity to get better, and be grateful for the struggles. I wrote Redemption during one of the most depressed period of my adult life, and it made me a better representative. It made me a better person, I think. I, as a result of my depression and coming out with it, have been able to make a much more positive impact on the lives of my constituents than I would have if I didn't. So I would say to myself, find gratitude in the struggle and be grateful for the experiences, because as much pain as they will bring, as much heartache as they will bring, it will make you a better person. And don't run away from those struggles.
This is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that it will reach the people that it needs to reach, because I always like to ask this question, because it's a way of
I've never thought of it that way. That was interesting.
Yeah, it's a way of handing out knowledge, like what I would advise people to do so they won't make, let's say, quote unquote, my mistakes.
Yeah.
But we don't need to do that to make sure that nobody makes any mistakes, but they can improve faster thanks to our experience. And I think this is quite great. But I think another important part of what you just said is that writing was very helpful for you, and it's an interesting way of making sense of the situation and of getting to gratitude, because in the creative process you get to express your feelings, right? Like, how does it work for you?
I put a lot of myself into the main character. I put a lot of my wife into the main female character. But I tried to also, I guess in a sense, the book did indirectly answer that last question, because I tried to go backwards, remember where I was at the start of this journey. The main character is 20 years old. I'm 35 now. And I tried to have him learn some of the lessons that I'm still trying to learn today. So I used the book hopefully to impart some knowledge onto its readers, and more than anything else to show people that they weren't alone. And then it was interesting too, because as I wrote it, obviously life continues to go up and down. I would try to remind myself of the lessons that the character learned, which are in reality lessons that I think I and others in my situation have learned. So I tried to use it that way.
If you have a headache or feel tired constantly, clean air can be the solution. And in theory, if you want more clean air, you just open the windows, right? Well, not quite. Pollution in general and noise pollution in particular make it a much less desirable option for most of us. But here comes Air Doctor. Air Doctor helps us and our family enjoy cleaner air with fewer odors and better sleep. It uses a 3-stage filtration system that captures particles about 100 times smaller than what most air purifiers can handle. Stuff you definitely don't want floating around your home. We're talking dust, pollen, mold spores, pet dander, wildfire smoke, even bacteria, viruses, odors, ozone, and VOCs, all the invisible things you'd rather not be breathing in every day. And here's the best part. It's whisper quiet. You don't get that constant loud fan noise that so many air purifiers have, so you can sleep or work peacefully. Air Doctor also has an auto mode, which means it's constantly adjusting to keep air clean 24/7. You don't have to think about it. And when it's time to change the filter, it reminds you, so there's no guesswork. 98% of Air Doctor customers say their home's air feels cleaner, safer, and healthier. It's no surprise Air Doctor won Newsweek's Reader's Choice Award for Best Air Purifier. Head to airdoctor.com and use promo code GRATITUDE to get up to $300 off today. Air Doctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, plus a 3-year warranty. An $84 value free. Get this exclusive podcast-only offer now at airdoctor.com. That's airdoctorpro.com using promo code GRATITUDE.
I love it. I think it's a great way of doing this, and I'm hoping that maybe it will inspire some of our listeners either to write themselves and to find a creative way of expressing, or of course to read your book and to see to go through the journey and in the journey with you. For instance, I've done this myself. Like a few years ago, I was writing lyrics, poetry, and that was really helpful in expressing my feelings and in not getting stuck in them. And that was something that I just remembered when we were talking.
Yeah.
But I think another part about what you were saying is really interesting. So, like you, there are many people that seem to have like the perfect life on the exterior, and they should be happy and they shouldn't be unhappy at all, or they shouldn't be depressed.
In theory, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But they are. And why do you think that is, and what can we do about it?
Part of it, again, the human mind is fascinating. I think part of depression, we know that depression, mental illness in general, has a very strong genetic biological component. It enables some people to live the most miserable life in the world and still be happy, and it makes some people who have theoretically perfect lives still leak pain every single day. So we know biology has a strong component to it. I also think, you've got a lot of like overachiever type A personalities, people bluntly like me, who will seem very happy from the outside because that's how they have to do. And again, by and large, I am pretty happy and pretty lucky, but still feel that pain on a regular basis and are just better able to hide it. Now, that pain can come from any number of sources: past trauma, difficult family upbringing, bullying. And I really worry about today's youth because of technology and our overdependence on it and social media. It's something I write a lot about on my blog. And the fact that there's so much pain in this world, and thanks to social media and technology, we're all so much better connected to it. So that's, I worry about that. And I say that I think all of those things are really going to give a big rise to an increase in mental health challenges. And all of us are going to have to better learn resilience and be better able to give people the help that they need.
Yeah. I think that today, like so many people are in this situation, living the lives, like the perfect lives, and struggling on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be really hard to find someone to talk to about this because because of this attitude again, like you should be grateful, you should be happy with your life. And I'm hoping that one of the things that this podcast is doing is actually helping people see that they're not alone and they're not struggling, not the only ones struggling with this, and that it's actually something normal, like something that other people struggle with, and that can have solutions. Like it's something that is fixable and is it can get better and better.
Absolutely. And that's realizing I wasn't alone was something really important for me. That this wasn't a weakness, that I wasn't the only person. For me, about 25% of all people with mental health will have it onset between the ages of 18 and 24. It was, and especially beginning at college. I went away to college for the first time. It was a mess. And I remember my first week being on the phone with my parents, just crying hysterically. I was so depressed. I was so scared. And my dad, and saying to my dad, I'm the only one like this. I don't see anybody else, who's in their rooms crying. He's like, of course you don't. They're all in their room crying. And I remember, and it was a very poignant memory. And 3 years later, my sister went to my school, and I grabbed her and I started walking her around. It was before anybody had had a chance to retreat to their room during freshman orientation. I said, I want you to look at something because I know this can be you later. See that kid crying, you see that kid crying, you see that kid being led away. It's not just you. And realizing that it's not just you and that prominent voices also suffer, I think is something that can be important. But people also have to know when it comes to mental health that it's average people just like them. 1 in 5 Americans, and I imagine it's a pretty similar number across the world, suffer from mental illness. 1 in 2 will over the course of their life at some point. People have to realize that it's so much more than just them, that they aren't alone, and that they can and probably will overcome whatever they're going through.
Exactly. And of course, if they acknowledge it and if they do something about it, because I was thinking about, I'm not sure if you know about Avicii, the famous DJ. Avicii.
Oh yeah, he completed suicide recently, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And he's about my age, and it was really I'm not sure if it was suicide. Like I think it's just rumors
Okay.
at this point, because his family didn't say that it is
Right.
finally. I'm sure that it wouldn't be easy for them to say that it was, but however, the thing is that even though he's like hugely successful, he was hugely successful and everything seemed to be perfect from the outside. When you put yourself in his shoes and understand his situation and his internal struggle, you might get to understand better how it might have been for him. And we always look at other people and we think that they have the perfect life and everything is great on the outside and on the inside as well. And we feel bad about ourselves. And this is what I wanted to get to. Like, we all have these kinds of struggles. And I believe even the greatest people on earth have them. And the power lies inside of us, like in what we do about them, in how we choose to do things and to move forward. And I think you're a great example of this as well. Like,
thanks.
With writing the book and sharing this perspective and your own struggle, I think this is quite amazing.
No, thank you. It's what I found helping other people to be very therapeutic. I mean, I will also add this. There's a very bad tendency, if you have some sort of mental illness, you get so inwardly focused. All you can focus on is your own pain and your own feelings, and then you ruminate, and then that just, again, you cycle down. The more you can focus on other people when you're depressed, as difficult as it is, the better you'll be. You need to try to change your focus, and you need to force yourself to think in different and maybe uncomfortable ways. And that's something that was really helpful to me, and that's, I think, why channeling my energy into redemption was something that was really helpful to me and hopefully helpful to other people as well, Ed.
And this is a really good tip, actually, and really practical. Like, if we are in a situation when we feel anxious or depressed, or we're just in a bad place, we can try to get out of ourselves and our mind and our head and look at other people and find ways of helping, of doing something for other people, maybe even for people that are in a similar situation to ours. And we can do simple things, I think, like even just meet someone or smile or I don't know, do something simple, but it can be quite a lot for them, right?
Well, there's actually studies that show that if you go volunteering, it can make you feel better. Just like volunteering at a local soup kitchen or something like that, that can actually improve your mood and help alleviate depression. So serving other people, doing something to get you out of your own head, that's great. And that's useful and necessary.
Yeah, and I love we had a little talking before the actual interview, and I love your perspective on the politicians that you've been interacting with, and it's really refreshing. I was telling Mike that we have kind of a big problem with corruption here in Romania, and
we laughed at our president. Cheers, America.
And Mike was telling me that the politicians that he knows, and I also told him that he's like, I can feel that he has a good heart and great intentions. And the politicians that he knows, they are actually in it for the people and for making a difference. And I think this is really amazing. And when you think about gratitude, like there are people that this is what they do. Like they have your best interest at mind and at heart. And I think this is quite an amazing thing of our modern society, to have people that think about the bigger picture of what's going on, and they're doing their best to help improve everything.
Yeah. And I think it's been an experience for which I'm actually grateful so far, to see that the vast majority of people, even those who I really disagree with, I look at them and I go, okay, I know what you're doing and why. I disagree with you totally, but I know you're trying to do what you think to be the right thing. And that's such a relief. That really is, to know that though I disagree with them on everything in some cases, that their intentions are good. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm also I'm really grateful for our mayor, for instance, that I know that he's doing lots of amazing things to make this city really better and better, and solve all of the problems that we have. And it's pretty amazing that, honestly, it's kind of cool that I don't have to do anything almost, like but the cool thing is that he's open for communication as well. And this is like a really good balance, and I'm seeing things happening, and I'm really grateful, even though like it's for everyone. But if I'm like thinking about myself, I am benefiting from that as well, as personally. And that is really beautiful. So, by the way, what are you doing like as a state representative? Like, I'm really curious to.
Everybody, there's so much that you can do. The two biggest things that I talk about as a state representative are education and mental health. The personal connection with mental health at this point is obvious. I've really concentrated my legislative efforts on a few pieces of legislation that are anti-suicide, trying to help college kids who get access to mental health care, as well as first responders. We know that here, our police, our firemen, our EMSs, those who deal in the coroner's office, really suffer from a lot of trauma and are at a much greater risk of, unfortunately, attempting or completing suicide. We want to make sure they get all the help that they need. I've got a bill I'm working on with a Republican member of the other party to try to make it easier for mothers who are in the state's early intervention program. That's a program for poor or at-risk mothers to get screened and then treated for postpartum depression, a major problem among new mothers. Education is another one. That's a broader one here, but I live in and represent a very poor urban school district. The school funding system in Pennsylvania is just horrifically broken. And I'm trying to work to not only put more money into it, but to make it more fair and make it so that my kids get same great education and have the access to all the same resources as the kids in the wealthier school districts next door. And I could go on for days about the things that I'm working on, but in a nutshell, those are the two big ones that I talk about the most.
I love it. And another thing that you said before going live that I thought was amazing is that the people that you serve aren't like the number of them isn't too big for you to not be able to interact with them personally quite a lot. And I think this is awesome. Like the fact that you care so much and you want to be with the people there and to know their problems and their struggles. And another thing that I wanted to mention that I think is very important about what you just said about postpartum depression is that these things influence like generations. Like, for instance, if you if you as a child, like in my case, let's say, if my mom would suffer or would have suffered from postpartum depression, I, as a child, would be influenced by that, and I would have maybe some traumas or some kinds of issues that have to do with the fact that she went through that. And getting help on that, like really deep level, I think can have a really big impact in like many years to come. And I think this is amazing. Of course, like education, like that's
no brainer.
hugely important, and I can totally relate to that.
Yeah. Well, it's a big. Pennsylvania has one of the biggest gaps in the country between the richest and the poorest school district, and I represent one of the poorest school districts in the entire state. So that's a big one here. And on the postpartum part, you totally hit the nail on the head. I mean, postpartum depression affects every generation involved, including especially the mother and the child. And we want to make sure that we're giving both of them the life they deserve.
This is wonderful. Okay, so we're nearing the end of our time together, and I wanted to ask you, who are you grateful for in your life right now?
A lot. But I mean, the first two are the obvious ones. My wife, her name's Brennan. She's wonderful. She puts up with me, and she's helped me through countless dark spells. I have a 7-year-old named Oren and a little boy, and a 5-year-old little girl named Ayla. And like any good dad, which I think I am, they are the light of my lives. And I'm lucky. My parents are here. My in-laws are here. They're in relatively good health. I love my in-laws like I love my parents. I have wonderful staff that keeps my head on straight. And my constituents, people who have continuously said, we're going to send you back and let you keep representing us. And I had somebody run against me pretty hard in the last election, and I won more than 2-1. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve them. And I hope to be deserving of the faith that they've placed in me. So that's it in a nutshell. Big nutshell.
Wonderful. And I love that. And I think that says quite a lot about you, the fact that they keep re-electing you, and they keep believing in you and in your work. And I think this is really beautiful. So in the end, let us know a little bit about your book, when it will go out, where can we find it and everything.
Absolutely. And I can send you a link too, maybe if you can put it in the description, that's perfect. And if not, again, the name is Redemption. My name is Mike Schlossberg. You can search for it on Amazon or just Google it. It is available on June 5th. You can pre-order it now. And it'll be available. It's for $4, $3.99. It'll be $6 once it comes out on electronic format. Not sure about the print format yet, but you can get it on Amazon. And again, Redemption is a book about depression, anxiety, and saving the world. And I think it's an interesting read, no matter what you suffer from or what your interests are.
Wonderful. By the way, how much time did it take you to write it?
It took, that's a good question. I'm going to say about 9 months or so to write it, another 9 months to edit it, and then another year plus to go through the edit, to get it, to find a publisher, and then go through their editing process. So this was a 3-year journey that'll be coming to fruition in about a little more than 2 weeks. So I can't wait to see it and to actually, to hold a printed copy of it. It's like a baby. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, and I know it's quite a long process, and that's why I asked, because it's like we value things more if we understand how much work and how much passion it was put in it, and in them. Yeah, I love that.
A lot of work.
So go find the book, and I think, like, if you want to read fiction, you can read a kind of fiction that is actually helpful and it's actually healing. And I think this is a brilliant idea. Like for the type of person that I am, this is like the perfect combination of a book. And I love that very much. So
thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike, for being here with us, for sharing so many amazing insights, and for sharing your passion and your enthusiasm with us.
Well, then thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for your work at helping people try to find the good in their lives. I appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Hey, Gratitude Seeker. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this interview. I really appreciate it. And if you could think of one person that would also benefit from it, share it with them. It might actually be the inspiration that they need to make their day or maybe even their life much better. Thank you so much once again. This has been Georgian Benta. Don't forget to keep seeking and spreading gratitude.